Hi, I'm Sean Irvin. I'm the Planning Commission Chair, and I thank you for joining us for this planning preview. We have coming up on our agenda on December 5th on a Wednesday. We would love to hear from you, so be sure to help join us and give us your input. We'd love to hear it. Today I have with me Jason Bieber, urban planner with the City of Sioux Falls Planning and Development Services. Hi Jason, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back.
Good. Well, today we wanted to go through some of the agenda that we have coming up. A little bit longer agenda, which we typically see this time of year before things really get ramping up for the new construction season, which will be coming back quicker than we know, right?
Yep.
So it looks like the first item on our agenda is a conditional use permit for a full-service restaurant within 250 feet of a sensitive land use located at 500 East 69th. That must be the Callaways,
Yep,
right?
you are correct.
Okay.
We had the rezoning, I think, 2 months ago. The Callaways is looking at kind of changing course, and Looks Market is looking at buying them. And then this specific conditional use would be for the restaurant portion. There are some single-family homes within 250 feet, so they'd like to have the full-service restaurant and be able to offer the, alcohol, beer, wine, and that kind of stuff. So.
Sure. Okay. Very good. Looks like our second one is another conditional use permit for on-sale alcohol located within 500 feet of sensitive use, which we always put those in front of the public to give comment about, at 4701 West 12th Street. That must just be west of the Tower Campground, I'm guessing. Is that right?
Perfect location, okay. Yep, just west of the Tower Campground. This is an old gas station that's looking to get redeveloped with an on-sale alcohol beverage use. I believe the applicant's looking at converting one side of that into a casino. That we see quite a bit of those casinos.
Oh, sure.
Coming up, so.
Now, is this one of those that used to be a place that allowed that on-sale alcohol, and now that it's an owner change, they have to get that reapproved, right?
No, this one wouldn't have the on-sale. It would have the off-sale, I would assume, back in the day.
Okay.
It was, I believe, a food and fuel, and they probably had off-sale
Oh,
alcohol.
sure,
so.
sure.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Looks like our third item is a conditional use permit again for accessory outdoor storage at 5600 North Cliff Avenue. That must be north of Interstate 90, even north of Dyke Avenue, or Dyke Street, I mean.
Yeah, just
right?
at the northeast corner, actually, of Cliff and Dyke Street.
Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Up there in kind of those industrial uses. This is something I guess I haven't dealt with, specifically with the New Shape Places ordinance. So this property is zoned commercial, but they're doing more of a wholesale kind of industrial use there. So they have a smaller building, and they actually want to have a larger outdoor storage area. Well, the ordinance allows in a commercial zoning district to have accessory outdoor storage, but they try and limit it to less of a size of a building. Well, this area is a little bit larger. This one shouldn't be too big of a deal, just because actually a lot of the uses up there are all industrial, and they all do have some outdoor storage, and this one's just because it's zoned commercial. So.
But there will still be screening requirements and all those kinds of things to protect the neighbors that are in that area and the people driving by from seeing all that stuff, right? I see.
Absolutely. We'll have to be conscious of the type of landscaping and stuff that they're putting in there, so we can screen it from cars on Cliff Avenue especially. So. Sure.
Well, good to know. Looks like our fourth item is another conditional use permit for accessory outdoor storage. Sounds pretty familiar. This one to be more than 10% of the total building square footage at 4705 Northview Avenue. This must be just southeast of I-29 60th, so that's quite a ways north.
Yep, correct. And as I said before, we don't ever see these outdoor storage things, but now we have two on the same agenda. But this one's similar. This is actually a camper sales and storage yard. It's zoned commercial, and they want to kind of expand their existing outdoor storage area. And then the area that they want to do the outdoor storage, half of it they want to pave, and then the other half they would like to leave that unimproved surface. So that's why they needed that added kind of condition on the conditional use permit.
And I see commonly the people that ask for that kind of unimproved surface condition is usually because of turning radius of trucks and things that really destroy pavement. Is that similar to this?
Yeah, absolutely. They will use that area for a lot of the camper storage. You've seen some of them campers get pretty large, and
Sure.
So it seems like it'll work out.
Okay, sounds good. Looks like our next item is a conditional use permit to allow non-conforming use of a contractor's shop at 909 North Elmwood. This must be just east of Madison and Burnside intersection. Is
Yep,
that right?
at that
Okay.
kind of triangular intersection. It's one of the properties within that triangular area.
Okay.
This is an existing contractor shop. I believe it's Top Hat and Tails. He does chimney cleaning and things. So the applicant's looking at actually constructing a new kind of contractor shop area on his property. It's zoned commercial. It's been non-conforming for several years, for quite a while probably, and so that's why he's coming for that conditional use is to expand that non-conforming use
Okay.
of a contractor shop.
Very good. Looks like our next item is an initial development plan. We haven't had one of those for a little while. For Celebrate Community Church Campus at 2001 East 8th. Must be just east of Terry Redland School.
Yep.
As far as where in town it sits, right?
Yep, correct. It's actually the east half of the School for the Deaf, the CSD campus. The west half, if you guys have been up there, have seen kind of some dirt being moved and some buildings being constructed. So this would be the east half of that. Celebrate Church is looking at actually taking over the rest of those buildings. They're looking at constructing a new, I believe it's a 32,000 square foot church. And then the area that's kind of the track and the open space, they would put in a lot of parking. And they would be required some significant buffering around the north and east sides of that proposed
There's
parking.
a lot of houses right near there,
Yep.
right?
Yep, just to the north and east of this existing campus. So.
And as I recall, these initial development plans are really there to put out kind of an idea of what the master plan for the site may be, even if it's not going to all be built at once, so that staff and the neighborhood kind of knows what the long-term plan currently is. Is that right?
Yep, that's absolutely correct. And hopefully, I believe they're going to start engaging the neighbors in some neighborhood meetings to kind of show their long-term vision for this site. Hopefully it'll be a good use for them, and the neighbors will support it, and we can get something kind of redeveloped on that site. So.
Well, that's great to hear, because I know we always encourage them to engage the neighborhood, get their feedback, try and maybe adjust their proposal or adjust their plans for what the neighbor would like to see, so that way it can all be very acceptable to everybody possible, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The more you can get in the front end, the better off we are in the back end. So.
Sure. Looks like our next item is a rezone from O Office District to the S1 General Institutional District at northeast corner of Marion Road and 5th. This must be right across from that Country View mobile home area?
Yep, you're
Okay.
right there. Yep, this one we actually had on last month. This is going to be the new Banquet West Side facility that they're going to construct up there. They deferred it 1 month. They're looking at possibly getting some additional property from the property owner there, and so they wanted to make sure that they were either going to get that and they had the rezoning exhibit correct. So we'll be coming back forward with this banquet building. Looks like it's roughly about 7,000 square feet, and hopefully fill some of the void that's on the west side of Sioux Falls for these type of uses. So
Sure, and that seems like a reasonable transition to go from an O office, which is fairly daytime intensive use, to something like an S1 with that type of institution that has primarily daytime use of the facility. So that seems to be fairly similar, right?
Yep. I think it'll be a good use out there. So.
Okay, sounds good. Looks like our next one is a rezone from RD1 twin home duplex to the RT1 single family residential. So going back to single family at 414 South Lindale. This must just be southwest of Western and 12th Street.
Yep,
roughly.
correct. Yep.
Okay.
Then they're just going to single family residential. That's that traditional district that we had as part of Shape Places zoning ordinance to allow some of this redevelopment or some of these existing lots less than 50 feet to be able to construct a house on them and be able to meet setbacks and things. So it's kind of a good zoning district and to get some redevelopment in some of these areas.
Which makes a lot of sense since, back in the maybe the 40s and 50s, we were making sites fairly narrow to allow people to have maybe a smaller house on there, whereas now houses are quite a bit bigger, and so They tend to increase lot widths as we go, and so this is a chance to redevelop some of those really narrow ones and find a better use for them.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how back, like as you indicated, in the 40s, you had 44-foot lots, and now anything out in the suburbs or whatever we call them, like, you know, there's 60, 65. You don't build anything, you know, essentially under 60. So it's kind of different how those have changed over the years.
Right.
And everybody needs that 3-stall garage, I think, right?
Yeah, well, a 3-stall garage takes up a lot of width on a 44-foot lot, doesn't it?
And you ain't much left. Yep.
Let's see. Looks like our next one is a rezone from O office district to RS single-family residential. Kind of a similar of that last one we saw at, let's see, 69th and Bonson. This must be just east of that roundabout I drive around all the time.
Yes, the infamous roundabout. And also just south of the new Horizon Harrisburg Elementary School.
Sure.
So this specific property is, church is looking at going there. They don't need to have that office zoning to construct a church. They can construct it in that single-family residential zoning district, as long as they're located on an arterial street, which 69th Street was. So they're down zoning that, and they're going to construct their church there and move forward. So.
But a little more conducive, and maybe they're actually putting a little extra constraints on themselves and what they would like to do with their site, just because maybe they want to be better part of a neighborhood, more of a residential neighborhood. Is that kind of the sense?
Absolutely correct. Okay. This would, if anything, the church would be constructed in 50 years down the line. They'd really only be able to do a church or a residential single family in there, or they'd have to come back and rezone, which would give the neighbors a chance to see what could possibly go in there. So
sure. Okay, makes sense. Looks like our next one is a rezone from RT1 single family to RT2, townhome residential traditional at 611 and 621 East 14th Street. This must be just west of 6th Avenue, I'm guessing, on that 14th.
Yep, so this is kind of a large lot. It goes from the alley all the way over to 6th, as you indicated. There's an existing kind of house on there in the middle of it. The owner of this property on the east side of the lot would like to plat that off, and then he wants to construct a twin home that's actually going to be facing 6th Street. So he'll construct a new twin home there, and then the existing house he'll continue to rent out and actually provide some hard surface parking for that house and get those accesses actually off of 14th Street. They'll come off the alley and 6th, which should help out a lot and make those engineers happy. So
will this then be subdivided, or it'll just be a big lot with a couple of different structures on it?
It'll be subdivided. So the house, the existing house will be on the west lot, and then he will construct this twin home on the east side of the lot here.
Right.
So, yep.
Okay.
I think it'll be a good redevelopment use in the core area. So.
Sure. And then the last one we have for the agenda is a rezone from RA2 apartment residential to the RT1 single family residential, kind of making it a little more restrictive, like we've seen on a couple of these. For 14th Street and 2nd Avenue, and this must be just east of Lions Park this time.
Yep, it'd be on the southwest corner of 14th and 2nd, just to the south of Clint Ackerman's project there in the downtown area. This is almost a similar thing to number 10 that we just talked about. There's a couple of existing structures on this lot that are, rental properties that are actually in pretty good shape, which the applicant doesn't want to remove. So to supplement those existing houses, they're looking at actually constructing 2 additional single-family houses facing 14th Street, and then hopefully, get some single-family people that want to be close down to downtown area. And keep those other structures that are actually in pretty good shape.
So at that point, it would be subdivided into individual properties, and that makes it sound like that would be really a nice complement to that neighborhood.
Yep, I think it'll be good.
Well, very good. Well, I think as we have been doing the last few months, I'd like to talk just a little bit about a term that we use all the time. As we hear Denise make the announcements about our upcoming kind of next item on the agenda, she talks about for allowed forms over and over again. When we talk about a particular rezoning or things like that. And, when I hear for allowed forms being kind of a planner, I think about, that's tying a specific project type or a general kind of sense of the size or shape of a particular building, and how those are limited to the type of zoning that it's related to, correct?
Yep.
So when you hear for allowed forms, what does that really mean to the public? As they hear that, what should that mean to them?
Sure. I think what they should get out of the allowed forms type of thing, you know, as we passed Shape Places in 2014, we really went from a two-tiered system where it was your zoning district and then these are the uses that were allowed in the zoning district, to a three-tiered system where we had your zoning district and then the allowed forms that are allowed in that zoning district, and then in each form is actually where you get your uses, your setbacks, your height, your buffering, your parking, and all that different stuff. So if you get, you know, example like a live-work zoning district, when we say for allowed forms, that zoning district allows forms residential, multifamily residential, some, you know, office forms, and it allows commercial forms. So it gives the developer the flexibility of what they want to construct there, and then each obviously form is where your setbacks, your parking, you know, your landscaping, your height would all come into play.
Mm-hmm. So how many different allowed forms are there, say, in an RS residential?
Great question. RS residential would, I believe it's 3 forms. We would allow single family, we call that the DD2 form. Mm-hmm. That's a single family residential, suburban.
And we use so many acronyms.
I know.
DD2 is detached dwelling, right?
Yep, correct. Mm-hmm. Detached dwelling, and those are detached single-family dwellings on larger lots, have to be over 50 feet wide. It would also allow an NF1 form, which we call a neighborhood facilities, which we're actually having number 9 here with that church. That's what form that church would utilize, because it allows a place of worship in a single-family residential zoning district as long as it's on an arterial. Mm-hmm. And then the other form it would allow is telecommunications, UT1 form we call it. And those are utilities, you know, small utilities like boxes, different little antenna support structures, but not specifically towers.
Things that really support that neighborhood. And then when you talked about the neighborhood facility, the NF1, things like a clubhouse or a shared structure that's part of a, you know, a neighborhood, that would be considered part of that.
Yep,
same thing,
and then we'd also allow some small group homes are allowed in that also. That those are the group homes that would be more in like a structure that looks like a house that really would fit in with the neighborhood also. So.
Okay, so then as we hear that, you know, for allowed forms, that really is saying in the example of an RS, that it is those 3 forms that are part of or acceptable within that RS, right?
Yep, and we're just trying to make sure that the citizens know, the applicants know, the developers know that certain zoning districts allow more than 1 form, as I had indicated before. You know, the live-work, if we're rezoning to live-work for allowed forms, you could see an office there, you could see an apartment complex there, or you could see some small commercial there. So we're trying to say, you know, it's live work as a zoning district, but you can also see these type of forms and these type of uses. So really what we're trying to get down to. So.
Okay, well that makes a lot of sense. Do you have a lot of questions about allowed forms from citizens as they hear something that's coming up? Does that happen quite often?
Yeah, we do get a lot of questions. You know, we send out the letters that we send out to properties within 300 feet, and we have to try and make them pretty generic just because we send out the number of letters is just a lot of letters. So we really just try and make them generic, but we do put our contact info in there because we want them to contact us with any of those specific questions. And a lot of those do say for allowed forms. And we may get somebody email us, call us, and ask, well, what are forms? And we kind of run through those with them. So.
Sure. Okay, well that makes a lot of sense. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's show. Please join us for December 5th at our preview, or this was the preview of the Planning Commission meeting, but we'd love to have you join us on December 5th and voice your opinion, look through the items. We'd love to have you call with any questions, and we welcome the kind of conversation that really makes neighborhoods great. Thank you, Sioux Falls.